Hi, my name's William Schaeffer. We have another book review, and the book today is Color: Why the World Isn't Gray by Hazel Rossotti from the Princeton Science Library. This is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it for anyone with the least interest in working with color, especially if you're a landscape painter, a color art designer. When I worked in colorization as a designer or a lead designer, this book was essential. I studied color on my own in an informal way so I could learn to do design better and design color better, so I could understand color better, so I could make designs that worked better, were more likely to look believable and to be approved by the client, and to just generally look good. Plus, it's fun to learn things. And this is a great book. It's very condensed and very scientific and very well organized. And it was because of this book I learned why the sky is blue, how light scatters, how atmospherics work and make a scene more believable, how colors change as they go in the distance. And I learned to think about color as rays of light bouncing off an object and getting absorbed and getting reflected. And I learned to think about colored light in that way. In the first chapter, she talks about light and dark and the basic physics of light and photons and light waves. Section 2, she talks about light and light effects, sources of light, shimmering lights. In section 3, she talks about the natural world. And this is what I found fascinating. Talks about air and water, how light behaves when it moves through air and when it moves through water. Also earth and fire. Talks about the different vegetable colors, animal colors. Did you know that the color blue in insects is caused entirely by iridescence? There is no blue pigment or blue dye in any insect. The blue insects are always blue because of iridescence. And the book is filled with odd little facts like this. And especially if you're a painter and you deal with atmospherics, I use this to great effect when I was designing landscape colors. Everything moves more gray as it goes back and more mid-tone with less highlights and less dark shadows. And at the same time, it gets a little bluer. And this is because as the light waves move through the air, the blue photons scatter the most. And that's why the sky is blue. And distances are more blue because of the scattering of blue photons. And it's really a good chapter. And if you're a photographer, a painter, or you're a lighter doing CG lighting, this is a great chapter to read. 4 was interesting. Chapter 4, Sensations of Color. She talks about color vision in animals, the sensations of color in people, how we see color ourselves, the eye and the brain, color recording. And this is all very scientific and pretty interesting if you're designing color, and fairly technical also. In this chapter, she introduces this CIE diagram and talks about this quite a bit. And this really helps me understand color and how the different colors are related to each other. And this is really important for an objective or logical way of organizing thought about color. In chapter 5, she deals with technology and the technology of color reproduction. And here's one that I really like. Again, we see the television color region in the triangle, but the human vision in that much larger area. And one thing I might point out, the line across the bottom corresponds to purple. And this has always fascinated me. This diagram, this curve, goes from red to blue. And the straight line across the bottom is purple. And our sensation purple is psychological. There is no purple wavelength. And that line, that straight line, moving back across and completing the figure is the purple line. And that's the most unique color, because it really is a psychological color that's based on the sensation of blue and red at the same time. And all you color people, you all know this. But this book is a great summary of the science of color. And then at the very end, in the last chapter, they deal with some of the psychology of color. She talks about color blindness, reproducing color in different mediums, the psychology of color. All in all, this is a great book that has a lot of little quotes about color, historical quotes. It has scientific facts. It's well organized to help you understand how color operates in different scenarios and in different arenas, how we see color, how we think about color, and how light actually operates. Therefore, if you're interested in color, you work with color, or you just want to understand color better in a more scientific way, I highly recommend Color, Why the World Isn't Gray by Hazel Rossotti. A fascinating book. You can pick up and read one chapter or a section of a chapter and enhance your understanding of color and enhance your ability to work with and see and understand color better. Thank you, and leave your comments below.